What's up?
Not a whole lot.
Why is it doing that? Did you get any good news?
I'm gonna go with the Goodman, $2,900 for all the equipment. The Lennox came in at $4,100, and the Ream was gonna come in at like probably at least 4,000 plus, because the price he gave me was 36, and it didn't include a line set, a pad, a disconnect. So I was like, yeah, for that kind of money. So we're gonna try to do it Friday and Saturday, if it takes 2 days.
Yeah.
He's going to try to get the furnace in, get the coil on it, and get the condenser unit in, hooked up to the point where I can run the air conditioning if I need to. And then we can always wait a little bit to get the furnace finished up.
That ain't bad.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so there's that. Boom, copy. I don't know why it's not working, dude.
Don't send those links, never work on Messenger. I click on it, it says, you've been invited to join the studio, and it says join via the app, and I click on it, it takes me to my Google Play Store, and I click open, and when I click open, it says Paul Studio. So I don't know why that does that in Messenger, but it seems like every time you send it to me via Messenger, it does not work. I even tried copying it and pasting it, and it wouldn't work.
Oops. What a pain in the ass.
I forgot I had this, Crystal bought me this, selfie stick thing. So that's what I'm using tonight. You can get it real close instead of setting it on like a table.
Yeah.
I can move it up and down. I gotta change that light bulb up above me though.
Oh, it's fine. It looks good. It looks good. I just sent it to him, so he should be clicking on it any second. I thought we would just talk to him about the race and the rules. The rules should be pretty self-explanatory. I mean, stock is stock. The only I would think we're running our track rules for Losi, and stock tires, stock electronics. There he is. Hey, Michael.
How's it going, fellas?
Good. Sorry about the link. Paul said it never works in Messenger, but I keep sending it in Messenger like a dummy.
Yay. It almost does everything Messenger, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. So we're gonna just do a quick get together. You can tell us about your last race, and then you can talk about a couple other things, like maybe your white ledge chassis.
Thank you.
And then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, like with Losi house class, or what'd you call it, support class coming up. And then what you guys are doing, anything else you want to add to May 30th when you come down here, or 29th is practice. You'll be down here.
Yeah, I seen they're going to open practice at 8 a.m. I'm sure you'll get a couple of guys going there bright and early. I know John and I and the GLSS crew will be down Friday. I'm sure the Motor Tech guys won't be too far behind us. We're super stoked. We can't wait.
Yeah, cool. It should be fun. Hopefully the weather holds, and I'm off all week doing honey-do list around the house, so I'll be there Friday.
Nice. Yeah, I think a pretty good tire selection. I've reached out to a couple locals and picking some brains and some ideas. And first and foremost, and not to talk a lot about GLSS, even though it's been an amazing series. The track, it's every track GLSS goes to, the track for the locals, for the most part, the track changes catastrophically, usually. You know, when you have minimum of 140, 150, I can't remember what the average is right now, but when you have that many cars, and not just that, but that much talent, that's banging the bottom or taking the fast line, track's going to change. So
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So Well, what's the major concern? Do you want to talk about the Losi sprint rules first and get that out of the way?
Yeah, I was really super interested in that conversation in itself. And just with that being said, uh, we're known for copying a lot of what Chili Bowl does or what PTs or other tracks that are big out there that are doing well and stuff's being successful. And it makes sense. And so I know some tracks are just like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it's nothing against the local crowd or, changing a gear for the local crowd or the local guys. But um, always just found it beneficial to work with others and, be the majority, for the most part, or something that's working. And so that's a big deal for me to, be on this podcast with you guys about the information that's, evolution wise or to the future, uh, this is where it's at. Unfortunately, it takes away from some of the other companies and things like that. But our first race was the Let's Get It, and they just showed up. A couple of them messaged, we're like, "Hey, can we bring it?" I was like, "Yeah, you're not getting it. We don't have a trophy." We had 7 cars there, so I was really shocked to see that 7 right off rip. I was expecting to see 3 or 4. And then Krater Point Series or GLSS. I think we had 9. We had 9 cars, so another 3 heats or 4 heats there. 3 heats. I mean, um, the one we just had recently, the Sims Funny Farm. We did finally make a trophy for them, so it's obviously growing. They got a trophy. They were excited. Sims Funny Farm. We had 8 cars, and then the shocker up here was our local points racing, and we had 11 cars. So this is Steve-O Russo's car that I just kind of demonstrating here. He's added his little, it's not a flashy wrap. It's got, it's clean. White's always looks fast. He dyed his chassis. He went some extra things. So that's where I kind of want to come in and ask you guys, about rules and stuff like that. So he's got some touches, uh, paint wise or, doing his own, sponsorship for his own little self-made business he's got going on. He's got the RC parts bin on the hood, Toyota sticker in the front. So I hope that's legal. The Toyota's fast. And so with
TRD,
that,
baby.
yeah. And so, with that being said, I mean, obviously the Krater went from not excited about it to, it changed our minds, and I think change is good. And to have 11 of them, we got another local points coming up in a couple days. Even though Turbo Tyler Herb's going to be in town at the same time, I got to kind of juggle with a lot of people here at the Krater helping out. I'm sure we'll have somebody around to lock the place up for us. But 11 of them at our local race, I was ecstatic, and I was like, we're gonna keep track of your guys' points. We got a little banquet at the end of the year. We provide the food, and so we would like to have the Losi Sprint be a part of that.
Yeah, and they're so easy to drive for new people, and for the most part, they're set up, I guess, is a better way to put it.
A good friend of mine, Jamie, and his family have picked up one, and they're they're good friends, and they're like, "Hey, what do you think about this Losi?" And this was like back in March, and I'm like, "Absolutely not. We're not doing that. It's 5 pounds. It's gonna trash the track. You're gonna have a bunch of rookies in it that are just. It's gonna be a smash fest." And so I was really anti. And so for the Sims Funny Farm this last weekend, I made. It was a lot of fun. I won't deny it. It was a lot of fun. The car pushed right out the box. Of course, I'm just going crazy on the left rear, lowering the front end. Got it better. I got into a tangle in my first heat within the slow class or the not so whatever you want to call it, the B main. And But in my second round, I broke a link right at the end of the threads. And so I was pushing again, but still drove it. Went to the B. Me and a good buddy transferred the B, made the A. And when I made the A, I pretty much just old school racing and just stay clean and worked our way up to third. So it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, they're fun, man. We have what do we have, Paul? 16 was the most we had this year.
We had 16 for the trophy race, the point series race. This past Sunday, we had 14.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
And I didn't
great.
even race mine. So if you're
You guys
following
have
along, pardon?
4 heats then?
Yeah, 3 heats in a main.
3 or no, I mean like
Oh,
This
yeah.
is a good topic. This is a great topic because I was going to ask you this. First off, I want to just say the local guys loved going to your track.
that's awesome.
We heard all sorts of, oh, you guys missed out. You should have been there. It was awesome. So they've been loving this whole GLSS, but they definitely love going to the Krater. I noticed a lot of the tracks are maybe medium to smaller, like bull ring style tracks, whereas Tarkar is a big track. I think Steve, the owner, said it's like a 350-foot run line.
Yeah.
So, you guys only run, is this like a system-wide thing, or is it based on track? I followed along with the guys that were running, and it looked like you guys run, you only take the top 4 from each class, auto transfer to the A main, and then you have to race your way in, and it could be like F mains and G mains, depending upon how many people show up, from what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll do two heats of IFMAR time. So you don't want to touch anybody, and we really spread them out. We're not single file trying to do a restart or have a big crash into turn 1. We spread them right out. We hit the dinger, let them go that they're on time. It just seems to be a real time management thing for the Krater as far as just that setup in itself. Marshals come out, we roll them out, spread them out, and bam, we're going. No wasted time. But with these, especially, starting a clean start is huge. So then you'll have round 1 with a resort going into round 2. So your top 4 qualifiers, actually, your top usually 5. You'll do 4 or 5 in a heat. And sometimes if we have like 12, we would do 6 and 6. But then come main time, yes. So once the second round of qualifiers is done, we'll set up mains. When that main is set up, it'll be 4, 4, 4, and then whatever. If you have 3 or if you have 6, we only allow 6 or less. Those guys would fight for a top 2 to go to the C. Them 2 will work their way up through the field to get in the top 2 to transfer and work your way into the A main.
Yeah, I've got it up.
6 for the A main, right? 6 cars total for the mains. That's just a little different. We run like up to 8, I think, traditionally. We've ran 9 before, but
the track's
that's
big.
good to know, just for the people that are coming maybe from Tarkar, that are the locals that haven't traveled, like Eric and I, where we haven't gone to some of the other races, but we're planning on being there. So,
yeah, you probably do it somewhat like Tarkar does it. In other places, it just depends how many cars there are, right? You just break them up based on what's gonna fit.
Right. And that's like the GLSS making decisions as a committee, as far as I would think that 6 in a main would be the absolute least you would have. I know the couple of the indoor tracks we go to, it's because of the size. I mean, they're bull rings and really, a lot of action from turn 1 to turn 4. A lot of action. So, depending on size, though, I would think that we would maybe be able to, but that's something that I couldn't say at this moment, so to speak.
Okay. real quick before I forget, you don't have the wings on. Are we running wings at Tarkar?
For GLSS?
For that support class. We run them. It's not.
So as far as the GLSS goes, then the decipher between GLSS and the support class of the Losi sprints, that is your guys' decision. We prefer to not do it, just for the track damage, so to speak. The top here really still stays pretty soft, even though it looks black in pictures. The wings would just chunk the track up really bad. We also took the little kick up deal on the back of the bumper. We also make them all round that off and shave that off too. I mean, that's just Krater. As far as your guys' the amazing trophy support class thing you got going on, who is it, Jackie? I love a protective dog. She ain't gonna bite you. She lets me know you're there.
We have a history of dogs in our podcast.
Yeah.
And so
another RGB racing fan.
Yeah.
All the way up at the Krater.
Yeah. And so with that being said, in that particular, what you guys done, I really super appreciate that, going above and beyond for a support class like that. We like this, that's really, really cool for Tarkar and for the Losi and for the GL. It's a great thing in a whole. But we would just soon, as far as us teching the cars, I'd almost wouldn't mind if when that class comes up, because every car goes through tech, that maybe one of you guys or a guy that is really good and familiar with your rules from bumper to bumper. I would imagine the guys that run locally up here, that come down and bring them, I'm sure they would, love to run the wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be
They
cool.
look even cooler with the wings on. And trust us, if they damage the track up where we're at, we would know, because some of the guys are definitely brand new and you see them cars going end over end, and we haven't had. The funny thing is, the plastic on the wings for the newer Losi sprints that they're selling, a lot of guys are having issues. So when they do get in a wreck, it'll break the corner off of the top of the wing. So we had a couple of guys. It was funny. You looked at the cars lined up on the track, and I'm going, why do all these guys have a corner missing off their wing? It was because they rolled it. And I've got like the old school original when it first came out. I've had that thing, on its lid a couple times and haven't had anything snap plastic wise. So
yeah. And so with that being said, real quick, not to interrupt I'm not a big podcaster. I'm not very good at this stuff, but
you're good.
With the wing thing, because I have little birds that talk around here, and everybody in the what I like to call positive drama in racing, because there's negative and there's positive. There's a lot of egos and a lot of fun stuff going on. Is there not an aftermarket wing that is actually lighter?
I would imagine there is. There's whole Facebook groups out there that are just on like a Losi sprint and modifying it, because some tracks run a modified Losi sprint where they'll allow carbon fiber chassis and all this other stuff. So yeah, I'm sure somebody has figured out some way to put some, but I mean, you can tell a factory, Losi wing.
And so with that being said, I guess that's what it would take away from the sport in itself. Is I feel like once we as RC enthusiasts start wanting to modify this, then just go buy a Whitledge. Okay, do me a favor, go buy a Whitledge sprint car, and instead of putting 700 into this, put it into something that's purpose built. Your shocks can get moved all over. You got adjustable arms going all over. You can move the battery here, there. I think once we get into starting to get away from pulling them out of the box, which that's 80% of the people that's already driving them. They're pulling it out of the box, they're charging it, and they're putting it on the track. And I know, like, even with the Traxxas mod, the Krater's, not GLSS, but the Krater, it probably ain't gonna go any different than that. I mean, keeping things simple is extremely key. And that's what my next question is like tires. Isn't there a different tire or like a softer or something tire other than what comes out of the box?
I thought what Steve said, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, is, or maybe you told me this, Paul, there's 2 types of tires, correct?
They're both Losi spec box stock tires. So they're the Losi wheels. It's just the rubber compound. There's a hard and there's a soft. But like I said, there's some other guys that run like some DE makes a wheel and tire combo that, you can run on them. But we're just kind of like what you're saying. We're right there at our club. It's pretty much you pull it out of the box. You can change the oil in the shocks. You can change your diff fluid. But besides that, the only other thing we allow is if you decided you didn't want to use the stock Spectrum battery, we allow, I believe Eric will bring it up, but I think it's a no more than a 5200
Yep.
for the battery. And
Yep.
you could use like a different, connector on it, but that's pretty much it. Like
Non-HV.
you got, non-HV. So up to a 5200 non-HV 2S battery, I believe is what we've got in the rules. And it has to be a standard size, no, shorty packs or whatever. Like some of the guys want to run these little short things. So
Yeah.
it
To
seems to
lighten
work
it up.
good for us. Stock
Now, Paul,
motor, stock ESC, all that
with,
stuff, stock
with
gear.
right, stock gear. With the oh goodness, with the battery, if they can change the connectors, do you at least in those connections, do you at least outlaw bullets? Do you make it be a wired battery with it can be like a Traxxas connection or whatever stock is?
We haven't really. I think there's 2 people that might run, I don't want to say their names.
I know one guy runs Dean's connector
So that's a
battery.
connection still. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So that's I run stock Spectrum batteries myself, and the other guys that are there for the most part that I interact with at the track that are the locals, all are running the stock style batteries.
And
They
just
just
in
may have a different connector. We have not
Go ahead.
that I know of outlawed. I know your slash modified rules state no bullets for that. So, but we don't have that for the sprint. He was trying to help out when they first came out. The batteries were really hard to get because there was a shortage. It seems like when Losi brings out a car, there's a huge parts shortage. Like the cars come in the country, and then it's like, okay, well, where's all our parts if the cars break? And then, oh well, it's on back order till August, and it's April. So he was trying to just make it easy for people
with
to
the
do.
Deans, I think that with the Deans where that should probably not be legal is then it's a connection, but it's really, they get a lot less resistance. I feel like it, and when you have a wire coming out of a battery and you have a connection, I think then it makes it fair to the people that are buying them right out of the box. Whether it's a Dean's or a Traxxas or as long as it has a connection, I think that, that's just my opinion as far as that goes.
I don't want to totally speak for Steve, but like when we put these rules down, we were just trying to help him out this year, and I don't want to say ruffled feathers, but it opened a can of worms is a better way to put it. And Steve's thing is he wants everybody to have fun. So, I mean, if a guy showed up at a local race with bullets on his Losi, he would let him run, I'm sure. Just because he wants, he's not going to, he's not going to die on that hill, so to speak, and send someone home over that. But with you guys, it's different. With us, it's basically all box stock, except, Paul, there is one more thing, and it's for me. I'm left-handed. So I don't know if we told you this story before. When I put my Losi Sprint down, my old Losi Sprint on the track, I made one turn and it went right into the wall.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have one. I have the controller upside down and I couldn't get this controller to work. So Paul and I are talking and I'm like, I've had that problem with my Traxxas Slash very intermittently, like very few times, but during a race where I just lose comms with it. Well, this Losi right out of the box wouldn't work. So I threw a receiver in it and just ran my Fly Sky, and Steve let me, and I can move the thing over and drive it left-handed the way I need to. They left that there for people. I don't change any settings in my controller. That I know that's hard to police. You'd have to go through everybody's controller, but they let me run that. Now, having said all that, when I sold my car, Scott Snyder, who went up to your place, bought it, and that car had a bad receiver right out of the box, and we didn't know it. So I don't know what you guys do up there. If you have any left-handed guys, those controllers are not, unless you cut it and actually modify it. It can be done. I've seen it on a Facebook Losi page, but it's not a convenient thing for left-handed guys. They may sell a left-handed controller, but it's a special order. I think I've read that.
So in our Traxxas, do we let them use different controllers? I don't think so either. We do it now. Right, in Grand Rapids? Sure. Yeah. So GRCC, it's a carpet indoor. I'm just getting some back information. Stock. Their controller stock down there. Oh, they are stock down there? Really? Yep. So they are stock controller in GRCC. Not that we're following their rules, but I can see how a left-handed person would have a tough time in either class.
Yeah. The throttle control's impossible upside down. I can steer it upside down. It's my throttle control just because, I'm using my trigger finger normally, but upside down with that, I've got the way it sets in my hand, I have to use my middle finger because it's just so uncomfortable to try and use my trigger finger.
And in the stock class or out of the box class, if there was to be any upgrade, because I don't know how you would buy the car with hard tires or soft tires out of the box. I really don't know how that works. But honestly, if I was to think, in my opinion, if there would be any upgrade in any RC racing, I think one of the first ones would be a radio. If the enthusiast came in and he has never raced an RC car ever, or he raced off-road back in the 80s or whatever, and he got into this, and that was the one upgrade that they could do is get a different remote and learn that remote. I mean, I think that's the gateway to really using the class, being able to use a remote, that you learn the remote and then go get a street stock or a limited late model, or now you can put that car on this remote and you're already got these settings and these setups and left-handed, right-handed, whatever. You have all these options in a remote that you've already kind of learned from this class before you even get into something wild. So
Yeah.
our rules here, we just been running them stock gear, and so, and everybody's watching everybody's car to see whose car is fast, and the fast car's rolling through the turn here. That's the fast Losi here is rolling through the turn, or staying a little higher and staying into a little more banking. I know turn 3 and 4 was really wild. I'd say probably half my laps when the car really got gooder. I didn't lift. and I just was in the turn and just never even lifted and hanging on. Now 1 and 2, the track accidentally got a little egg shape, and so 1 and 2 is a little tighter, and I had to let up a little bit, or I was gonna go straight. Or I actually got the car to finally be loose, which that's the way I like to drive anyway. Um, but yeah, going back to the remote, I think that's a not a bad idea. Anyway, I think it would benefit some of these guys that would get into oval racing and then further pursue it into another class, get some knowledge on a radio.
Yeah. What we don't tech those cars per se, but we've had moments of we've had a couple guys over the past couple years. I know one guy yelled out, "There's a car out there that's not legal."
And it's not hard to see.
Right. And we had some guys show up from out of town, nobody anywhere near you guys, and they were all buddies, and all three of them stepped in and were whooping us by, what was it, Paul? 6, 7, almost a second faster than some of us?
Yeah, it was very noticeable.
Yeah.
And they had stock gear, or they said they had stock gear?
Well, they were reminded on the PA by our announcer that this was a stock class.
Nice.
So,
we found a couple gauges that we're going to try to get. A guy 3D prints gauges for the spur and the pinion. So you just basically put it right up there, and it either fits or it doesn't.
yeah.
And then he also has a gauge for the shocks. So you can make sure that they're not using like shock limiters. Because we don't allow any type of shock limiters, either internal or external. So yeah, I'm gonna get that headed our
no
way.
bump stop?
No bump stop. It's just how the car comes out of the box. You can change your fluid, you can change your shock fluid, because a lot of those, when they come out of the box, I'm sure you guys probably noticed, for some reason those shocks are like, I pulled one out of the box and there was a giant oil stain by the right front, and it was like, we better open that up, and sure enough, like, the majority of the fluid came out of the shock. So they're not the
we've had a couple guys have some shock issues too, like one car, the threaded stripped out, or the little collar piece had stripped out, and he's actually using Traxxas, the little mini spacers or whatever. You got little ones and big ones. He's using those, and he's like, "Hey, is this all right?" And I was like, I mean, if the car is not functionally working and he's trying to screw it down, it's not going anywhere, I'm like, yeah, dude, I mean, you're losing adjustability.
I'm sure they'll deal with that just like you are. I mean, the shock limiter thing, there's a funny story about that. I mean, I bought a Slash from a guy, and he never even raced it. He just took it on a ball diamond, and he's a racer. And how, I mean, I must have raced that a whole season, Paul.
It was, and we decided to do some PM on the cars.
Yeah.
And hey, we should change the shock fluid, and see how dirty it is. And he pulled his apart. I go, why does your shock look different than mine?
Yeah, I said, I don't know. And I pulled it apart, and I'm like, oh, there's limiters in here. But I didn't, it
didn't help him win though. So
no,
I still beat him. So that's all that counts.
I was so busy learning my street stock, the Slash was just an afterthought. I'd race it and hang it up. I didn't care about it, but you never know, especially if you buy a used car. So
now, do you guys actually have like a way to check or test if they are using a limiter? Because I mean, like 2 millimeters isn't very big.
I mean, just that.
We just got that shock gauge. I got it. I'm going to talk to the guy that builds them. I've already been talking to him a little bit because we thought it would be good. That's the one thing that they don't do a huge amount of at Tar. And then when we go to other tracks, then all of a sudden it's like, wait, well, you got to get the car tacked, and we check the motor, we check the batteries. we check the gears, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, well, they should definitely be doing this I run primarily the Losi Sprint and the Traxxas slash modified. So both of those are pretty much at the majority of the tracks box stock. So it's like, I want to make
Yeah.
sure they're all box stock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just to keep things fair and, that way people don't get discouraged when you find out someone's, using wrong parts or whatever. It's like when you get a bunch of those cars on the track with guys that know how to drive them, it's just like watching a high limit race. People are doing slide jobs and crossing over in the turns and everything else. And it makes for really good racing. All the cars are so competitive, and we were running this weekend and I heard Casey saying like we were all within like a tenth of each other, lap after lap after lap. So
Yeah, on this track, I don't think you might get some aero down the straightaway. When there's a groove, you don't lift off the throttle the entire trip around the track. Turn 2 is a little tricky, FYI. Turn 2 is a little tricky for everybody coming out. It's always a little bit loose. It's a little tricky. But typically, if you hit that right, you're never lifting.
Right. And so with that being said, talking about tech, and it's good that you're putting a lot of work and effort into that, because GLSS's tech is like a whole nother level. Every car that comes through every heat, race after race after race, is getting looked at. At the Krater, like our local points, John or I will just say, oh, we'll look at Midwest mods, in the main, or, oh, we're going to look at, Losi Sprinter. Oh, we're going to, it's more of like a random drug test.
Mm-hmm.
And so they know about it. And so I think it keeps them on their toes, but at the same time, we don't put even close to as much effort as we do GLSS. I mean, GLSS, you're going through, if you're not getting a battery tech, you're getting a top wing tech, and mod sprint. And that's really enjoy mod sprint or mod late model or those mod cars, because they pretty much roll right through tech. Now you get into your limited classes, now there's a lot more tech going on. And then I feel like when you get to the Traxxas and this, I think, in just my opinion again, when you're trying to keep a box stock, those are the guys that are back home and they're heating a little A-arm up or they're twisting a little of this. And that's just straight ego honesty. They're going to do it. And so when you put a lot of effort into making a tech or a rules package for this, to be honest, it's a lot of work. There's a lot more work into teching this car, I believe, than teching a mod sprint or mod late model. And that's what, the box stock, part of that is, as a track or a organization, trying to keep, from like what you guys are saying, brand new guys walking in the door and being able to be competitive. You almost gotta do that.
Yeah. And we want to talk about that this winter. We've talked to a couple people about trying to just get together and sit down and collectively get all that stuff in line so that we can go into spring next year even more organized.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
And so do you guys actually have a rules package or something printed out that I could share, or the Krater or GLSS could share?
yeah, it's very simple. I'm looking at it right now. I'll send it to you. I'll read it to you quick. I mean, it says chassis stock, body stock, motor and ESC, stock motor and ESC, no AVS, gearing stock, receiver and transmitter we already talked about. They made a concession for me. Arms stock, battery and power, we talked about that. 5200 milliamp, 2S, no HV. Tires and wheels are stock. Shocks are stock, no limiters. You can change your fluids. And then the last one is replacement parts must remain stock unless noted below, and there's nothing noted below. That's just open, that's just open in case something needs to be like Paul talked about, if there's a part shortage or
like, this is a good one, not to interrupt, this is a good one because I want you to pick up where you left off, but, like, where you're saying with that parts part, like, I don't know, I'm looking at this car now, I don't know if that collar that spins, I think it's plastic. And if we, as a track, start going through a lot of those little, because the shock body itself is aluminum. Maybe they will come out with an aluminum, the adjuster screw,
yeah.
stuff like maybe that, and
Here's
then you could have like
Here's my thought on it. So I was going to ask you this next, and that was the end of the rules. It's very,
simple.
very short. There's a lot that needs to be added to it because Paul and I have talked about buying um, associated parts, replacement parts for that, because they keep breaking off. And we don't have that stuff in our rules. That's the stuff we want to talk about this winter. But if you put a piece of plastic on your car as a replacement, are you weighing anything?
As far as like a weight?
Do you have a minimum weight requirement? Because I know like Paul talked about the Facebook pages, they're drilling or 3D printing guys and doing everything they can to get a weight advantage on the car.
Yeah, and I think that now that you bring that up, because I am just learning, to be honest. And that's why I'm consuming this knowledge and learning about it. But that's why, like, when I call them little birds, that's where I got that from my mother. My mother, I'd come home from school and she'd be like, Michael, a little bird told me. And I'm like, oh boy. So a little bird had told me that, they're making Losi makes lighter wings and softer tires and all this and that. I think if you were to make a weight rule that went along with the one that came out of the box with a 5200 battery, now I know there's probably some batteries that are lighter or heavier than others, and they're going to try and get lighter ones. But I think if you did that to this car, and say I bought the car and I went out and got the lighter wing. Am I back on?
Yeah, you're good.
If I bought the lighter wing, then I would have to put some lead on it, right?
If there's going to be a weight requirement, I would think so.
And so I think
maintain a minimum weight so all the cars weigh the same.
I have a scale.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. You're down the rabbit hole at that point, then it's like.
And I'm going to do that.
But it does matter. I mean, I have a scale that I'll bring it just for kicks, not to weigh people because we don't have a weight rule. But that's definitely something that I wanted to bring up in the winter for next year.
Hey, can you call Jaws for me? And then I'll take a slice. No sense in it getting cold. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I need one
you're
too.
Good. Eat dinner. Eat dinner. But that's where we're at. We want everybody to have fun. We're trying to keep it simple. Paul has approached this. He's only been doing it a couple years, but he's approached it economically from a time standpoint. Paul and I you work long, hard days also, but I got a wife and kids at home. I will put time into my cars in spurts. But I will say it's really nice to just throw a slash down and have fun, and throw a Losi down and have fun without worrying about getting, why am I getting beat by 0.6 of a second? What's going on here? It's such fun when everybody's close. So, I mean, and as you absorb all this going into next winter, I'd love to hear what you guys are coming up with too.
Yeah, because that's usually when the magic happens, about November, December, we're already working into 27, and I'm already working on a class now as we speak for 27, but absolutely.
Anything you want to share?
No.
Okay. I could tell by the way you said that, so I'm just poking the bear.
Is this your personal Losi in front of you there?
No, it's not.
No, this is Steve-O's car. This car has been, so he came to the local points race with this car. He's been racing at the Krater quite a few years, so he should be a threat. Over the winter, he raced it on carpet. And so when he dropped the car on this track, he was just nonstop doing donuts. So I think he finished 9th out of 11th qualifying overall. But he's the come this weekend, he'll be in the mix.
Yeah. I think you guys will transition easier than like we would. Paul and I don't think Paul and I would have too much problem with the Losi's at your track. I don't think I could throw my street stock and be competitive on your track, but we've raced carpet. We've raced those on carpet. It's a lot of fun, fast, a lot of grip. I think you'll I mean, it's really pretty easy to your biggest obstacle's gonna be some of the newer guys if you get around them.
Yeah. And so when and I'm because there's some guys here that like they're pro level drivers and I love them to death, but like this out of the box type deal racing, they love it. And I know that they're going to take their car home. They're going to take every bearing out of it. They're going to roll the bearings. They're going to do everything that you possibly can think of. And people are going to be like, they're cheating. And they're not. They're good drivers. And so when the Traxxas mod came out, we seen a lot of those guys get into that Traxxas mod. It took out the 12T and the big block with the just stock system in it.
Mhm.
And it wiped them right out. And we knew it. And I wasn't really happy about that either because I feel like the Salvis brothers had put millions of hours and time and energy into that. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But when the
Yeah,
Traxxas came out, the Traxxas, they're pulling them out of the box. And a lot of these really, really good drivers are running the class and winning every race for the most part. I think here at the Krater, we just, they just felt the need that, they needed to move up. They had their fun. They were involved in it for a minute, and now it was time to, move on. And then the same thing, like you're saying, you got a lot of guys that they buy the Losi and they're first time guys, and all of a sudden off they go. When one of these, really well known drivers is out there and he's competing against that, at that point, I think they realize that this car has a purpose for, it's between novice and street stock. And, a lot of guys are going to go buy this from riders in Grand Rapids and bring it to the Krater and race it. They're going to see it and they'll be like, wow, that looks cool. Dude's got a helmet on and you can put his hands up in the air. And, that's how Russo had it at first. He had it so his arms were up in the air and he was racing no-handed. And so I don't see as many of those big name drivers buying one of these or getting into these like we've seen with the Traxxas as much.
You brought something up that was a hot topic the last 2 weeks between Paul and I. So it's going to sound ridiculous to what we call the gatekeepers, but should cleaning bearings be a rule against that in that class? And I'm being serious. And the reason why is what we were talking about, like with Paul and time and box stock, and where's like you were talking about tech and the arms being bent. Where's the limit? Should that be a limit?
I wouldn't think so because just for a maintenance standpoint of view, I think a bearing is a maintenance thing to be able. I mean,
what
guess
about ceramics?
Yeah, I would say those are illegal.
Okay, we agree. We all agree on that.
My opinion, but doing the maintenance on them, I think is no different than the remote. I've lost some races, and it's humbling to admit that, but I've lost a race off a left rear bearing going bad.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden my car was diving out of nowhere, and I'm like, man, how did I screw this setup? Well, the bearing was done, and
Mhm.
low maintenance. So teaching these guys that ain't never touched one, and all of a sudden they're like, man, I'm a tenth off here at the Krater than slower than the slowest car. I'm a tenth slower. Hey, have you taken and pulled your bearings out of the front hub or the rear hub? And give them a little rinse.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, I think that would be good for them to learn that, hey, you're just not going to pull it out of the closet, throw it on the track, and win the A main. You're going to have to
Yeah.
be competitive.
And there's an easy solution to the time management thing. I mean, just buy an extra set of bearings and clean them out, and always have an
Yeah.
extra set ready. I mean, it's not a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good piece. I don't know that there was anything else on that class. Paul, can you think of anything else you want to talk about with Losi?
Yeah. Paul's
was just
always
gonna-
got the good stuff.
I was just going to tell Michael to tell his friend that really likes to put the Losi drivers' arms in the air and maybe not have hands on them, that there is a guy online that 3D prints hands for the Losi sprint car driver. And if you get what I'm saying, you can drive around the track letting every other driver know that they're number one.
Oh, I thought you were going to say thumbs up.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, different
Kinda.
finger, but yes, that right there. Yeah, just tell him to get online and look. He'll find the guy. It's pretty funny.
That's funny.
Awesome. And it's cool to see it evolve. Usually that's what happens.
Yeah.
Some of these tracks I've watched a lot of other. I'm a podcast watcher, not a doer so much. And I like to watch them for the knowledge and see what else is going on in Texas and California and all these other areas. But it's good to see that, other people smaller companies are gonna try and jump aboard to make $1 off of 3D printing, a gear tech. And any tech tool you can get for this, I honestly, give me the info and I'll be all over it. I mean, we have
We'll
a chili
gladly
bowl
send
set.
it to you. Yep.
Yeah, because we love being able to make tech quick, fast, and all the same. Like all our mod cars it's basically all body tech. Street stock's got some body tech. So some of your guys down there in street stock get on the chili bowl rules and the rear bumper. I believe, don't quote me, but I believe it's 2.5. From the bottom of the inside of the body down. It might be 2. Don't quote me. I 100%. But there is, and that's like one rule that a lot of street stocks have a hard time making, because it totally makes sense to cut that Lexon all the way up to the bottom of the deck and all the way across and back down and let all that air flow. And it totally makes sense to have a tech say that's not what we're doing. Everybody's bumper is going to be here. And now everybody has the same airflow that's exiting the car. And so they all have a purpose. And I think that the more that tracks, I know we try and have fun, but at the same time, the tracks that don't have rules, that's the kind of drivers you have there. I mean, if I go to a track that don't have a Losi rule, I'm heating up my right front A-arm and getting a little degree out of that front A-arm. I'm going to figure out how to adjust the rear end to make it not look like it was adjusted. I'm going to tweak it. If it's open, Losi sprint class, I'm going to tweak it, and I'm going to go out there and I'm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I go to a track that, yes, we have a Losi tech here, the rules are over here on this little side link. You could make it easy to see or look at. I think, for people that want to definitely travel, which they are out there, even though I love promoting local level stuff, the first thing they want to have easy access to is rules.
Absolutely.
They want that access. And then when they see that, wow, this track's not open, in a sense, or the rules are crazy sauce, they tend to really not want to go because they feel like they're going into a disadvantage and what rule can I break, or not break, but what can I bend or tweak in order to keep up with the local guys. And the more that they see a rule listing, they'll be like, oh, these guys are doing straight stock, they're changing remote, or keeping it simple. And there is a set of rules. You're gonna attract those guys that like, organized tech racing stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'll send this to you. It's on the Tarkar. There's 2 Tarkar pages. There's a Tarkar Oval Club page where we're trying to just keep the oval stuff on there.
Right.
It's on that. If you don't have Excel, you can't open the link, but I copied and pasted everything in the comments. So you can see the Losi, all the rules actually in the comments. So it should be fun. I mean, are you all set with help and everything down here through Steve? I mean, you bring your crew, you don't need anything from us?
No, so the GLSS does a contract with each track. Um it's really super cool. One of the things that I like to say about the GLSS when we approach a track or are interested in going to a track, one of the biggest things is the facility being able to hold parking and pitting and all that good stuff, which being at Tarkar, you're not running out of room there. So
Yeah.
that's a big bonus. And then people look at the surface. And so we really like to be able to come in and let Steve enjoy the race, not have to worry about the computer, not have to worry about anything in that. The only thing that he really has to maintain is the surface, whether it's going to rain before and he needs to cover it, or, whatever his preparation throughout the race day is. I know that, a lot of racers will be like, oh, you need to add water. Oh, this person's like, no, you don't need to add water. That is all up to Steve and has nothing to do with the GLSS and whatever it is program Steve wants to run or whatever surface he's offering us. No big, I've already been there. Steve's track's beautiful. It's flat.
Yeah.
It's smooth. Steve's been doing it for a long, 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 long time. We've had a GLSS there. I think it was 3 years ago or 4 years. It was a while, but we've had one there and had an absolute riot. Actually, then is when the track was like even bigger than what it is now. It was even bigger then. But anyway, and Steve's end is the surface, and that's it. And we come in, run tech, obviously announcing, and John sets up video footage and gets all that up and running, and we pretty much just come in and run the show.
Nice. Excellent. Well, that covers it for me. I don't know what else you want to touch on, anything before we check out?
No, I look forward to your guys' rules, and I'm not anti-Losi anymore.
That's good news.
We're gonna
I use
convert you. You'll be a true believer.
There's nothing wrong with the cheese getting moved, and I mean, at Tarkar, there's a lot of new people driving Losis, and we already have a couple people checking out. One guy took the summer off for dirt. Another guy's moving, so you got to replenish that stuff. You got to get the new people.
Yeah, absolutely. And in some of the studies that I've done, I think that was probably one of the biggest ones that hit the nail on the head, and that was that this Traxxas mod, specifically this video that I was watching, but the Losi's no different. It's the same thing. You're buying a car with a body already painted, remotes in the box, batteries in the box, and the percentage of people that are going to buy these without having to cut the Lexan. And we've had so many new guys get into limited late model that have screwed bodies up just because they're new and and they're trying to figure it out and all this good stuff, that there's a percentage of these, the drivers that are coming in. It's just not the money or the entry of them actually coming to the track. There's a percentage of those 10 guys that are actually like, wow, I want a second class, I want a street stock, or, I'm gonna get a track assist, and there's a percentage of them that will end up in a closet. Losi ain't gonna not make money. Us running out of parts, that means they're making money.
Yeah.
And they're not going to make 2 million of them sell 200,000. They're going to make 250 of them, ride it out and then be like, oh, we need to make 500 more. So Losi as a corporation, I guess kudos to them, and I support it because it's doing good things at the Craters.
Yeah. It's fun stuff, man. I like
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll get those rules over to you. And if we missed anything, text me and we'll update our Facebook page and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that info. Not that I really need to give it to GLSS, because like I said, the tech on this, I would think that would be handled by, it's a supporting class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, matter of fact, I'm 100%. No, I'm pretty sure that the supporting class, which is a stock, I think, high center of gravity Traxxas with any body, was down at 5-star. And they had a pretty good car count. It did good, but I don't think that GLSS had anything to do with tech on that.
Yeah. Yeah, you got your hands full anyways. So we'll be there. We'll give out trophies to the top 3 guys, and they can have bragging rights, and everybody can have fun.
Yeah, awesome trophy.
Yeah. Well, thank ChatGPT and Paul's ideas for the sponsors.
Great work, Paul. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Looking forward to seeing you guys meeting in person. So I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right, man. Thanks, Michael.
Hey, you guys have a great night.
You too.
You too. See you later, Michael.
Yep.
Let's see.